started today on the special codes training. The first half we're going to go through just the special codes, and then the second half we'll go through how to set them. So the first thing that you need to know is the participation rule. That will help you set the other special codes that you have available. Responding to 6 or more questions and typing any non-blank character into a writing prompt classifies as a participation and needs to be coded if it's not finished. You can track in the ORS tool on Tide how far a student has progressed in the test, and that will help you determine which code needs to be set. So we have the non-participation codes. We'll just go through these really quickly. 101, absent, the student didn't show up. Okay, so just remember to mute your laptops. We're getting that there's a lot of chatter going on. So then your 106 non-participation code, you sat the student down and they refused to test or gave up during the testing period. 107, the student was excused for medical emergency. Or 108, the course is going to continue on to the next school year. We'll try to keep a little bit. So it's 4. So then the 109, the student or the course didn't instruct for that test. 110, the test has already been taken. 111 is a USB excused approval, so you just check in with us before you use that one. 112, the student transferred before the testing window. And then you have your non-standard participation. The 201, the test was, you made accommodations that were allowed. And then 202, the student used modifications that violated the test. So these are your new WIDA English learner test participation codes. So remember that they have to have the limited English mark as well as a first enrolled in the U.S. date. And then based off of that, use this matrix here to determine which special code to set. Note that this 205 code is new this year. So you'll be able to mark that and we'll be able to adjust accountability accordingly. And then your parent exclusions, the 204. Anytime a student is opted out by their parent, you have to put in this 204 code. If they started a test and then you got the parent exclude, then you need to go in and invalidate the test and set that code. So we will jump over to special coach training now. So, just a quick reminder of how data gets to where it goes. Everything comes in through Utrex and goes to Tide. And then Tide will report to Data Gateway. Utrex will report to Data Gateway, but Data Gateway will not report back to Tide. And then some just important rules of thumb. Set your code in one place. Ideally, you're going to set it in Tide because that will then report back to the Data Gateway. If you have to go through and set it in the Data Gateway, it's not going to show up on the Tide side of the test. And then make sure that you know that your data is correct. Make sure that you don't have a stale Sage extract, because then your data is not going through to Sage and is not going through the Data Gateway, so you're not going to be able to find what's happening. There might be old data in there that you code and then it gets updated and you just won't know. This year, the end of year Utrex final submission is going to be due on July 9th, and you have to certify your special codes by July 13th. We'll go through that just a little bit. Okay, so setting your special codes in Tide. When you log into the Sage Tide portal, you're going to go down and click on the View Edit Special Codes, and then from there you put in the information that you have to find that student that you need to code. And then once you get in there, you'll see the box for the special codes, and you'll click on the drop-down box, select the code that you want to use, and hit save, and it will save in special codes, and it will be sent to us in our nightly files and uploaded to the data gateway. Now we're gonna talk about the data gateway special codes tool. There's two views on that one. When you start out, you're going to see your district view, and you'll be able to use the box on the left-hand side to sort down to school level. And then once you click into that, you'll get a student view, but we'll go through all that here in just a second. So there's the link to the data gateway tool for you to access that. And then this is just where you start finding it. So data gateway, your student special codes tool. And then on that, you'll have your district and your school, and it will tell you the last day of your Sage data. You want to make sure that that is current. And there, it will also tell you if you have a STEL extract. So again, just checking that, making sure everything is up to date. You're using current data so that you're changing things according to what is actually happening at your school. And when you click in there, if you have a STEL extract, you're going to see this red banner across the top, and it's going to tell you that you have a STEL extract that needs to be set. Otherwise, you're changing things that might not be exactly what you wanted. A reminder that if your data is changing by 10%, we're marking it STEL because we don't want to have someone in there making changes and not having finished them before it automatically started the upload. So that's our way of protecting your data, making sure that all of a sudden all the kids don't just drop out Sage and then causing all the other problems. So just make sure that you're not using STEL data. So once you get into there, you'll see a screen that looks like this, and these are kind of referred to as the jelly beans. You'll be able to sort through your district and school, and then by that it breaks it out to tests, and you have the 4 categories that are, actually there's 5 now, that are available that break it through, and we will go through those. So you have your test, no test. A test has been generated at some point in time, and no code or test has been reported as having been taken back to us. Then you have your test with code, or no test with code, no test, but you put in a code that's going to indicate why there's no score coming back with that. Test no code, typically your standard participation. Kid took the test, there's nothing that needs to be indicated on participation, you're good to go there. Your test with code, the kid took the test, it was administered, but there's something that needed to be indicated that you're using a special code for, and then you're tested somewhere else. This would be a lot of your transfer students are going to start falling in there because at some point you had a test generated for them, they've transferred, and now some other school has administered that test, so you know that that is good and that kid's been accounted for somewhere else. Let's double check this over here. To clarify the data will be marked STEL after the last day of school. After the last day of school, so you're going to, at some point you're going to submit your final state data through Utrix. And then once we go through and in the data gateway, they now have that finalized data button. Once you click that, it'll move all of your data, and the next day you're going to start seeing stale extracts because you're not submitting any new data. So yes, that will happen. Okay, so once you click into, we'll go back. Once you click on one of these, you're going to see a page that looks like this, and this is just kind of all the different things that are available to you. Your students are going to show up in this gray box here. You need to make a note that the default is 10 entries. You can change that there. I believe it goes up to 75. But if you start sorting, just know how many you're seeing versus how many your total you have, because you don't want to change things that are there. Over here you have your tied code. If any code is set in tied, it will start to appear there. And then your special code here in this column that will override any code that is set in tied. So if a teacher goes in and puts in a code and you need to override it, this special code in the data gateway is going to override that tied code. And then you can export your data from this, but there's no way to upload it. There's a way that we can do bulk changes, so we'll go through that. Can you questions above? Let's see if we can find them all. How soon can we get started? Special codes in tied and data gateway. You can do those now. It's better if you start doing them now, especially the parental exclusions. As soon as you set that 204 code in the Sage tied tool, it will invalidate the not invalidate, but it will remove the test from the student, so they're not going to be able to take those. So to really get those ones going, you can start setting the codes in the data gateway tool as well, but just remember those are not going to report to tied. So whatever you can start entering in tied now, start doing that one. The Sage special codes link does. So if you're trying to get into the data gateway link, just log into the data gateway and then go to the My Tools, and it's the Sage special codes option in there. That's a workaround there. That will get you there. The code is set in tied, but it hasn't changed. So if your code that's reported in tied is the correct code that you want to use for that test, then you're good to go. The only time that you would need to put in a special code on the data gateway after the tied code has been entered is if you need to change it for whatever reason. Sometimes, the teacher will set some code that just doesn't make sense, and you just need to make sure that that's right. So this special codes tool in data gateway will override tied. Tied will not override data gateway. So there's a few options for sorting down the data that you see on the data gateway side. These little sort buttons here, when you click on the column, it will sort that column into alpha and reverse order. And then you'll be able to filter your results, so you can use the search bar, and as opposed to using the arrow buttons to filter just the one column, when you start typing in the search bar, it's going to start filtering everything on every field. So in this example, we type in BR, and you're going to start seeing that it's pulling both first and last names that have the BR combination. And then, again, just keeping track of how many are actually showing on that page. You'll also see down at the bottom of the list these boxes that have search options, and you can sort down to tests or core codes or schools to start narrowing down your search results so that you can find your students and get those codes entered. So setting bulk codes can be done. Let's see. So to set it one at a time, you're just going to go in and find that one row that you want. Click on the null, it'll give you this drop-down box. You can pick the code that is there, set it, and then once you click on it, the last modified date or field will fill in with the date, and that's how you know that that has been changed. And then you just do that one at a time for every student that you want to. Or you can go and click on the bulk entry. So you'll filter down to what you want to see, and this, you can use this for the course exit dates. Search students who left before today's date, they'll pull up, and then you hit the bulk edit filter entries, and it'll give you the option, the drop-down box with the warning that everything is going to be changed. You set it, you certify that you want to override it and apply. And just remember that if you're set to 10 entries on the screen, but there's 11, there's another kid on the side that you're not seeing that's going to get that code put in. So, and then the end of the year procedures, there's a couple of different things. This year these boxes are blue, but once you go through and submit or put in all of your test participation codes that you want to set, you can hit this Sage Complete. Sorry. When all of your students have been tested and you are done, you can go in and click this Sage Complete, and that's going to just certify that you're done testing. Then after that, the data is going to continue to change based off of nightly files that we're getting back from AAR and the final UTREX submission that your LEA is going to submit. So you're going to want to continue to go in and monitor what's happening and what's being changed. Once Tide goes offline on June 18th, the AAR data is going to start, well, it's going to stop changing actually. And then most of what's going to change your data is going to be your UTREX submissions. Once that goes offline, you're not going to be able to set the special codes in Tide. You're going to have to move over to the data gateway side. And then once the data will change, once you hit the July 9th date for the final UTREX submission and you certify on the data gateway UTREX side that that's the final submission that you want, you're going to want to go in and make sure that all of your special codes are set. And then once they've been set and you're positive that they're good to go by July 13th, the latest, you're going to certify that your special codes are there. Don't click these buttons until you are ready. And then just some of the questions that were asked in the survey or that were common questions. The best practice for putting in your special codes is going to be in Tide. You want to use that as much as possible because it does report back. After it shuts down, you have to use the data gateway. Why do I have to code students who withdrew before the testing window? It's because at some point there was a test generated in your LEA that was reported back to USBE. And so you just want to go in and make sure that you put in the code that says that they transferred so that you're not responsible for having to administer that test. Will dual-enrolled students have a test in the LEA not responsible? It's possible. It kind of depends on how your UTREX data is coming in. If they get a test in one or both of the LEAs, it's a matter of communicating as much as you can to the teachers. If that school's not responsible for testing that student on that subject, to just leave it blank so that the other school will have access to it. And then once they test in the other school, the student will move into that tested somewhere else jelly bean, and you'll see that it's been taken care of. The best practice for preventing schools from changing codes is just communicating as much as you can with teachers and school level, just to really make sure that they know exactly how we need to code these and what overrides are available. And then you always have the Sage Special Codes tool on your end as an AD to override anything that they might set in Tide. Can a different code be set for parent opt-out? If a parent has opted the student out, you have to use the 204 code. And if they started the test, you have to remember to invalidate it and then set the code. And then there's a question about setting IEP and 504 accommodations. Those are set in Tide by the LEA. They don't filter in from the UTREX data, so you need to make sure that you're setting those and using the essential elements core codes for the students who should not be appearing in Tide. So other than that, that's pretty much the codes and how to enter them. If you have any questions, you can always email me, talk to me about any questions that you have. We'll figure it out together. I'm not seeing this. So there was a question about this spinning. The larger districts, I know they take a long time. I get the state view, so when I try and pull up data, the Data Gateway Special Codes tool, it can take a while for everything to load up, which is why using Tide is the best place to set it, because it moves a little bit faster than the Data Gateway tool. Someone asked if we could talk about EL codes more. Let's pull that back up. So your EL codes, just remember you have to have those two fields in the UTREX data set. The limited English must be set to the F, O, or Y, and then the date first enrolled in US will be the two indicators that we use in accountability. So then you have a few different breakdowns. If it's the first year the student was enrolled in the US, and they've enrolled April 15th or later of this year, so in the next 18 days or whatever it is, they're not expected to test. They're not going to count in any participation or accountability, and you'll just set the 103 code for that. If this is their first year enrolled in the U.S. and they've enrolled before April 15th, so any date up to April 14th, we expect them to test, but they're not going to count in your accountability, and you'll code them with the 104. And then if it's their second school year in the U.S., they're expected to test, but they're only going to count for growth, and that you'll give them the 205 code to help with that. And then the third year, they're expected to test, and they start accounting for achievement and growth. Grades 9. So ELA writing tests, now they are down to grades 5 and 8. And then we also tested writing for ACT. So those are the 3 grades that get that. So the other grades outside of grades 5 and 8, if you tested their writing in this fall window, then you'll get an overall score for them, but on the accountability side, we're just going to take we're not going to take the writing portion of the ELA score except for the grades 5 and 8. tests. Let's see. Kim, I will get back to you on the F, O, and Y. I can't remember off the top of my head what they stand for. Jared's one. That one. The EL codes, so I've been told you have to set them. My recommendation would be to double check your EL students, make sure if they've been set automatically in the past to make sure that that's happening. I know this 205 code's new and we're working on getting that set up, so that one might not be available at the moment, but it will at some point. So I will put in the AD memo a note on what the F, O, and Y stands for, just so that you guys, thank you, Teresa. F fluent, O opt out, and Y is yes. Jerry, could you just verify for Natalie? I'm not sure whether or not accommodations have to be set based off an IEP plan, or but either way, we'll follow up. I'll get that information to you, Natalie, and I'll put it in the AD memo to make sure that everyone is aware what exactly the accommodation codes, how they're filled in. A few minutes to go over SPED students who are DL untested. So DL untested students should not be appearing in Tide at all. We've made this year, if that 1% flag has been marked, they're not supposed to be in there. If for some reason that wasn't set at one point in time and they generated a test, just special code that test that the student, that the course didn't match instruction or whatever code you feel is best for their situation. But yeah, they should not be appearing in Tide anymore. That's not seeing any more questions coming up, but if you get going and setting your codes and you have questions, just feel free to send me an email. I'm going to put this back up. Send me an email and we will get everything we can together to get the information there. So with that, we'll conclude. I'll go back through the questions, make sure that they were answered at some point, and if not, I'll respond to you directly and put in the AD memo a follow-up to anything that was left unanswered. But other than that, I think we are done. Thanks for checking in with us this morning.